So one of the biggest questions, should we invest money or should we focus on paying off our mortgage? And likely if you're watching this video, you're on that question right now. You maybe want to pay off your mortgage, but you're wondering, is it the right thing to do right now? Or should you just invest instead, let that investment grow, and then take that money and pay off the mortgage with it later? Well, I am going to give you a very unique perspective in this video. I paid off my mortgage 2 years ago, and it was one of the best things I've done. I look at a mortgage on your primary residence. This is the place that you're staying, living, and enjoying life in. That to me is a liability. It's not necessarily an asset. See, if you go out and you buy a rental home and you have a mortgage on the rental home and you're producing income from that rental home, that's okay. That makes sense to have a mortgage and probably keep that mortgage, because at the end of the day, the people that are renting from you are paying off the mortgage for you, and you potentially are pocketing some nice profit. But really, yes, your house value that your primary residence is in is going to hopefully go up in value over the years. But at the end of the day, you're living in it. You're not really benefiting. You're not profiting off of that. So what makes more sense? Invest or pay off? What we're going to look at here is we're going to look at an amortization schedule. This is really what the bank uses to give you your mortgage and show you your interest payments over the period of time. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take that and that same amount of money that you put to the mortgage, what if we invested instead? Let's see the difference. Now, this is not financial advice. I don't know your personal finance situation. You do you. This is just really, what would I do in giving this exact scenario? So we're going to take it back to right here in this mortgage schedule. And you see that you have a loan of $300,000. That's kind of cheap in today's world. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at the year 2000. And we're going to assume a 2.5% interest rate, which is amazing. If you were able to score that over the last couple of years, congratulations, because I know right now the mortgage rates are extremely high, and you're going to have $2,000 extra per month in your budget. Not a lot of people do, but if you're sitting here watching this, likely you're trying to figure out how to pay off your mortgage. Maybe you have a side hustle or you have extra money in your budget to afford to put an additional $2,000 a month into the principal. So honestly, this is what we did. So if we look from the year 2000, and you can see we start this loan January 1st, 2000, and if you put $2,000 a month every single month, so scheduled payment, this is principal plus interest, including additional principal payment, your total payment would be that. But look at how early you pay this thing off. You get to escape this thing 10/1/2008. There's a reason I'm using these years. I'll get to that in just a moment. But the first thing I want to show you is look at this. Now, when I'm paying off my mortgage, or if you're paying off your mortgage and you want a little bit more motivation, have a look at this, for example. So your interest payment, by the way, I'll link this particular Excel document down in the description below. If you want to use this for yourself, plug in your details. If I take away this right here, this optional extra payment of $2,000 a month, look at the interest payment. You're paying a total of $600 a month all the way down through here. And here you hit the $500 per month interest. Remember that interest is spread out over the course of 30 years in this particular case. But you get to finally fall below the $600 per month in interest right here, which is in 2001. But if you apply a $2,000 extra payment every month, that drops significantly. You're only in the $600 interest club, as I like to call it, for only the first couple months. Look at that. And then you drop into the 500, and before you know it, you're in the 400. So keep that in mind as a great way to also look at how fast you're paying down your mortgage. But here's the kicker. What we're going to do is we're going to look at our total interest. So your total interest here is $34,302.21 over the life of this loan. It goes up to $126,000 if you don't pay anything extra. So you're saving a good amount of money by paying this extra payment. But here's the argument. Why don't you put that money instead into an investment? People like to throw out terms like inflation. They like to throw out terms as time value of money. Remember, though, in my opinion, if you ask me what I would do in this case, I want to get rid of having to pay a big, hefty payment every single month. And here's where things get interesting. What we're going to do, we're going to take this $2,000 a month. And if we look through this entire period that you were paying it off, and I highlight this entire row, look down in the corner here. You paid an extra $209,000. Remember that number. You paid an extra $209,000 on your mortgage through this period of time, but you get to pay it off extremely early in only 8 years. Look at that, 10/1/2008. You're done. You're free. Let's do an investment calculation. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to invest it into the S&P 500, indicated by the ticker SPY. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same time. from January 2000 until October of 2008. So instead of paying off your mortgage early in October 2008, you're going to put $2,000 a month into the stock market. Now, if I analyze this portfolio, have a look at what actually happens here. Look at this graph shooting up, which means that your ending balance is $210,643. In the beginning, it really kind of ramps up here, goes down a little bit, but you end up with a good amount of money, $210,000 in cash. So what you could do is ultimately maybe throw that all toward the mortgage. But here's one thing you got to keep in mind. When you withdraw that $210,000, any gain that you have would be taxed. Whereas a mortgage is already kind of taxed already. It's already kind of done. And by the way, in today's environment, there's no good way to do a mortgage interest tax deduction unless you itemize your deductions. If you're not itemizing, you're not actually getting a benefit on a tax deduction. That blew my mind. I didn't realize that until I dug into my taxes with my tax guy. And I'm like, mortgages are even more pointless now. But think about the fact that remember how much money you put down over this period of time on the mortgage? Remember that number? It was $209,000. But over here, you would have put the same amount of money in, $209,000. But your portfolio balance is only $210,000, which actually means you're not going to get taxed that much because you only gained $1,000. So I'm saving well over $80,000 in total interest by paying off my mortgage early. But if I had invested instead over the same period of time between 2000 and 2008, I would actually not really gain much money. I'd actually be losing out. Now, before the haters come on in the comments down below and say, but you're using the Great Recession and all the worst times of the market. That's the whole point. See, we don't know, and none of us know. I don't care if you're Warren Buffett or the next best person in the world. Nobody knows what the stock market's going to do over the next 2, 3, 5, 8 years. Nobody knows. What if we go through this cycle again where we have an issue happen, where the stock market pulls back? What if we have another great financial crisis? The stock market pulls back. We don't know what happens. And so I would actually argue that in this period right here where it starts nosediving down, $210,000. Look what it was right before that. In July, you were at $265,000. So we got to be honest. Emotions take control of us when we see our portfolios drop. Would you be okay right here with a $265,000 portfolio watching it fall down as you continue to invest more and more money? Some people that are like, yo, I'm in it for the long haul. That's cool. That's great. But are you going to freak out and say, you know what? I'm hearing about this stuff going on. I'm going to pull out my money. And now you're just kind of stuck, right? It's not fun. Whereas you could have just been broken free from the mortgage. Because here's the issue with this. If it was 2008, you're watching your portfolio drop down. All of a sudden you get laid off from your job. That portfolio falls even more. You still have a mortgage payment that you have to pay. And what you don't want to have happen when you get laid off is have to worry about that monthly payment. How am I going to cover the mortgage payment this month? Let alone the fact that I can no longer invest $2,000 a month. I'm going to have to still pay my $1,300, $1,500, $2,000 a month, whatever your principal payment is. Yikes. But there's one other piece that I need to mention. When I was paying off my mortgage over that period of time, and we were going aggressive for those 5 years between 2017 and 2022, there were some things I had set up first. And it's important to keep this in consideration for your own financial journey first. Make sure you have an emergency fund. You don't want to be socking away all the money into the mortgage, blowing down the payment, which is exciting, but not have an emergency fund. What if the roof goes bad? What if your tire blows out on your car? Something stupid. You need to have some extra cash to be able to pay off that emergency and continue to move on and continue to pay off that mortgage. I did also do the investment in my 401k. If your job offers a 401k with a match, take full advantage of that up to the match percentage. You still want to invest. You just don't want to invest as aggressively when you're trying to pay off a debt. Once you pay off the debt, now you have all that extra cash to do whatever you want. Hey, you could put more toward the mortgage. You could put more toward investments, whatever you want to do. That's the beauty of the power of choice. If you want to see more calculations that apply today's math instead of way back in 2000 to 2008, then what you want to do is check out this video next, and we'll see you on the next video.